Hi, the question we got today to try to answer is, does lack of sleep affect athletic performance? Sleep or the lack thereof is going to impact not only your body function, but also how well you can think. We're going to kind of talk about that today in this video, so stay tuned for that. The first part of this video, we're going to talk about how the lack of sleep will impact your coordination and reaction time. Then we're going to look at how sleep or the lack thereof will impact recovering from injuries as well as the injury incidence rate. Third, we're going to take a look at its effect on your ability to focus and to think clearly and quickly. Fourth, we're going to look at the emotional aspect of lack of sleep and how it impacts your emotional management. And then 5, we're going to look at a real-life example of how lack of sleep forced a change in a legendary athlete's career. Typically, most people need 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep on average. So when you're getting less than that, that's sleep deprivation, and that can impact your reaction time by as much as 20%. So think of some of the sports out there, and that 20%, what a huge difference that can make in potentially completing a pass in football, completing a pass, making a shot in basketball, baseball, hitting a baseball, tennis, any of those things. When your reaction time is 20% slower because you haven't been getting enough sleep, think about the impact on your performance. So besides reaction time, it's going to impact your coordination, that neuromuscular aspect that needs to function so finely tuned in order to do any athletic endeavor, to be at your peak ability to jump, to run fast, to catch a ball, to throw a ball. You don't understand really the fine tuning that's going on to make that happen well and efficiently, the amount of coordination, and even a little bit of lack of sleep impairs that ability to do that to the highest degree. So imagine a pitcher where that release point is so crucial to whether they hang a slider or they really snap one off just right. That fine tuning that's necessary for hitting a jump shot, completing that pass, making that big catch, any of those aspects off even to the slightest degree, because a lack of sleep can make the difference between an incomplete pass, a missed baseline shot, a missed jump shot, a hanging slider, any of those types of things, simply because your coordination is off by the minutest amount. So when it comes to injuries, when you have that lack of sleep and your coordination and reaction times impacted, that also impacts the likelihood of getting hurt, particularly in things like contact sports or a sport like baseball or something where your reaction time is vital. Slight change in that increases dramatically the risk of getting hurt, getting injured. Beyond the risk of getting injured, the impact on recovery is affected by the releasing of things like growth hormones, which is impaired with lack of sleep. So those growth hormones aren't being released in the timely manner, in the right way, in order for you to recover from an injury or even the nagging injuries, the bumps and bruises that happen with athletic competition. You are sore longer. Those stay with you longer. And when you are sore and achy because you aren't recovering as well, you don't function as well. Your body doesn't function optimally. And all those things then impact your performance. So the lack of sleep is also going to impact your cognitive ability. So your ability to process information is impaired. And is there a sport out there that doesn't require that to happen at really fast speeds, right? So many sports require you to be able to make decisions very quickly about what's going on around you and how to react to the happenings around you. And the speed of the game, they talk about that often with athletes, right? They need to slow the game down. Well, what that really relies on is your cognitive ability to kind of separate yourself and see things from a different perspective, kind of remove yourself from your body. If your brain is not operating optimally, you cannot do that effectively. You cannot slow the game down, because slowing the game down does not mean slowing the cognitive function of your brain down, which is what lack of sleep does. All right? So it's real important to get the sleep just to keep that cognitive function, being able to make those decisions quickly. The other aspect that is often overlooked is your ability. Memory consolidation is impacted by lack of sleep. So your ability to learn from your athletic performance, to store that information, to even from your practices, and then going forward and applying what you went through into the game at the game speed, is impaired when your memory consolidation is impaired, which happens when you have a lack of sleep. So the whole learning process that should be a routine thing that athletes go through, it should be built into their ritual after practices and after games, being able to process what you just did, what you learned, what you need to hold on to. That's impaired when you have a lack of sleep. And it's a vital and often overlooked, the mental side of training for athletes is that whole how you go about practicing and learning and processing information. The other thing that happens when you have lack of sleep is you become more anxious, right? And that anxiety isn't good. When you're in the emotion of stress, when you're in the emotion of, like anxiety, you cannot perform optimally. You need to try to get yourself out of that emotion of that, and when you lack sleep, that becomes more difficult, right? You actually are really feeling that in your body and being able to separate out of that because of the cognitive functioning that's, or lack thereof, that's going on, becomes much more challenging. So your emotional management, your moods are totally altered with a lack of sleep. And when your moods are altered and you aren't managing your emotions optimally, you do not perform as well. For a real life example, we're going to look at one of the superstars of the NBA, LeBron James. LeBron James has openly talked about how he had to make changes in his whole recovery process, in particular, sleep. Early in his career, LeBron was getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep at night. And as his career progressed, that began to take a toll on his performance and his ability to recover. He said he realized that the lack of sleep was having a detrimental impact on him, his well-being, and his ability to maintain those very high standards that LeBron James had established for himself. So part of his whole makeover was to make sure he started getting 8-9 hours sleep. He even includes naps, particularly before his games, as part of this, making sure he gets the sleep. And napping, by the way, is something that highly successful people in every endeavor of life have done habitually, is learning to take naps. But LeBron James credits this change in his sleep habits for being able to maintain his performance and his ability to achieve at very highest levels well into his 30s. As always, I invite you to subscribe to our channel. So go check out all our other videos. In particular, you might be interested in checking out the video, how does poor nutrition affect athletic performance? Check that video out today, and I will see you in the next video.